Well, I don't know who's with me tonight because he's incognito, but
Yeah,
it kind of look. Oh, now that you're smiling, I know it's
yeah.
Brian Wang. Look at that. All right,
Yeah.
Brian.
Hey,
So
Randy.
I see you have a SpaceX rocket going up behind you that is not exploding.
Yeah,
This is good.
it's gonna happen. It's gonna
It's
happen.
going to happen.
Yeah.
So last time he had three in a row, and then the fourth one saved the company. But now
Mhm.
he's had four in a row. We have four explosions now, or three,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or
But
four.
this other one didn't count. It was just on the test stand. It
Still
wasn't actually
understand.
done. Yeah.
All right, okay. All right. Well, of course, what everybody's thinking about today, everybody's very, very interested in what's going to be happening in Austin. And
Mhm.
people can go back and look at what I just did with Larry. I'll put the card up at the end. And we talked an awful lot about some of the aspects that Larry was looking at for Sunday in particular. For Sunday in particular, we talked about the safety rider,
Mhm.
okay, which uh, which has been a little controversial today. Some people are going, "What do they need a safety rider for?" Anyway, but you have
Mhm.
a different take entirely.
Mhm.
I think that in the course of the next few months, as the thing is rolling out in Austin, there might come a point at which, well, you explain. Tesla might have a very different hybrid kind of thing.
Yeah, they have a choice. So I've said that for the wait times, they might have started to release the system where I'm serving all of Austin, and I have um, a human ride sharing system mixed in with my RoboTaxi system. I said that that might be a way to start, but they've chosen to do it via imitation, limiting geofencing a small zone, imitations, and then that also resolves the wait time problem, right?
Right.
And then you can expand a bit more as you get more cars in. Although I think that you have to make a leap up to at some point to go, I allow everyone in, I'm going for the full city. I then must have 2,000, 5,000 cars for an Austin size area in order to get proper wait times, proper coverage of the whole city. Um, you can do that completely with robotaxi vehicles,
Mhm.
but um, right now, only even in California, the places, um, China, 10 to 20% max are EVs, right? Versus gas cars, even though EVs can be superior. EVs in China can be far lower cost than the gas cars, and they get to 50% of new cars are EVs, but still not all the way there. Half of
Right.
people are still choosing to do the gas cars. I think a similar effect could happen with some people refusing to go into a um, driverless vehicle. Even though it works safe, it's perfect, maybe even safer, it's lower cost, they just choose not to do it. Just like some people have not given up on taxis, buses, all the old things. There's a stickiness,
Right.
even though it's like there's reasons why you say, hey, that doesn't make sense. Why are you doing it? It costs more, it is, whatever. I said, I don't care. I just don't trust it, don't feel safe, whatever. So I think this is something else that we're going to find out over the next few months is how much resistance is there to trying the new thing, going in there without the any driver, any of the systems, even though it's like fully automated. That how long does that last? We don't know how long
Yeah.
that lasts. We see the the usage in San Francisco, Waymo versus um, Uber versus taxis and all that kind of stuff. They're getting share, but how much of that limitation is from they only have 400 vehicles, 500 vehicles in San Francisco versus, the larger number, and how much of it is that, they just don't want to go into those vehicles. And that's something that we'll find out as well.
Right. And and they've done some surveys on this, and there is a very substantial number of people that say that they currently would not trust a driverless vehicle. All right, so let me
Right.
see if I understand this. So you're suggesting, first of all, that we'll have the rollout 10, 20 cars, whatever it's going to be on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. At some point that might be 50, at some point that might be 100. And
Mm.
if I understood your idea correctly, at some point they may want to flood the zone. Is that kind of what you,
Right. Right. I
Oh,
think they'll then I get confident and then flood the zone. It'll be not like a constant drip, drip, drip. I expect it to be drip, drip, drip initially, get confident, and then boom, 500, 2,000. Like in a finite number of steps, you go bigger, full.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, they should have really, really good. I mean, they're going to have outstanding information to be able to put into their AI in order to judge when the timing would be right to have these increases. But at some point, and then again, your idea might be whether they did it like over a weekend and went from 2,000 to 5,000, or whether they went from 2,000 to 2,500 to 3,000 over weeks. Either way that they did it, there could become a point at which the limiting factor, the thing that might keep them from going from 3,000 to 5,000, might be that there's a bunch of folks that are like, no, I'm not ready. I know all my friends are doing it, but I don't like, for instance, I am a person who loves roller coasters,
Yeah.
but I don't like them to have a loop.
Right.
Okay, that's
Right.
that's my limit. No loops. Anyway,
Right.
so or at least that's historically true. I don't know what would happen today, but the last time I went on a roller coaster, I was not willing to go on the loops. Anyway, so this might be the limiting factor here on getting that last part of the TAM when they're trying to flood the zone. So one idea then might be you might open it up to the Uber drivers, because there's
Right.
a lot of Uber drivers driving Teslas.
Right. Right. But you can also then mix in that there are many Tesla owners who
Yep.
say, okay, maybe I didn't buy RoboTaxi, but hey, I already drive Uber with my Tesla.
Right.
And so, there's probably of the 2 million cars in the United States, there's probably 50,000, 100,000 that are Teslas driven for Uber.
Right.
So that could give you, especially in the first year, a substantial number for cities and able to get to more more vehicles, lower wait times, better service, right? Yeah. So it just
yeah. And interestingly, since Uber made the decision wisely, I think in the early days, to go with an independent contractor approach rather than employees and cars that they owned, then they have absolutely zero control about whether their Uber drivers also drive for other services. I've been in cabs in New York, or I've been in ride-hail services in New York, which had Uber, Lyft, and the local cab company.
right.
They were driving, they had all three of those available.
Yeah. So it is a not exclusive system. So Tesla can easily expand that way, and they can do it with or without a deal with Uber. It just they're not locked in. They have optionality in terms of how they do it, and the reason for doing it, the pros and cons. Reason for doing it is that they get bigger while there is this transition phase, meaning going where the customer is, not where you want them to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so that could be a really interesting way to expand really, really rapidly, would be by offering that in Austin as a test.
Yeah.
As they move out, because they've already said, it could be that, again, Elon has said by the end of this year, he's expecting to be able to give us unsupervised riding. But he did say it would be next year before they would offer the Airbnb idea for us to put our cars out as robo-taxis with no driver.
Right.
But there's this other thing that you're talking about, which would be a supervised ride. So there could be maybe even Tesla owners who maybe they're making $70,000 a year at their day job, but might want to make another $30,000 a year taking their vehicle they already own and doing weekends and nights and stuff. I know that my son has from time to time done what do you call these Uber Eats or whatever as side income. Yeah.
And the other thing is that it makes the transfer of vehicles easy, because they can dispatch the vehicle driverless to someone else, and then they can do the actual operation. So, again, why would you do that if you can just let it completely go autonomous, it could be that there's people picking and choosing, with driver, without driver.
Right.
And if they're choosing with driver, then there's a economic demand signal there, so that, and then the person can swap in and out, transfer between vehicles and stuff like that. The flexibility of Tesla being able to go with driver, without drivers is far more, because you can, for the people who are couple in it, they can get transferred around easily and the vehicles can move easily. So you can have more accommodation for that capability.
So in your heart of hearts, I know we would all like to be optimistic and think there's not going to be any trouble over the next 5 days. In your heart of hearts, which kinds of trouble are you most, what do you think is most likely? Do you think we'll have terrorists terrorizing people? Do you think we'll have any animals that get hurt? What do you think? What do you think's most likely?
I think it's going to be pretty tough for them to find the vehicles, to know, like, to spot them and to go attack them, because only 10 of them, right, out of a city of 1 million people, kind of thing. So it'd be difficult to find them. It's an invitation only, so I'm presumably, 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐼𝐷 and 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐼𝐷 are not gonna, invite someone terrible into the vehicle. So I'm not concerned about that, situation, because it'd be logistically difficult for them to do it. It'd make also more sense from them to do it when there's a bigger system, to throw a wrench in the works later.
Right.
I'm not expecting any problems in terms of it having an accident, that, they're doing it on a weekend, not as much traffic. They're, pick and choosing the areas. They can monitor the whole situation, by air, with cameras to know. So I think it's pretty easy for them to cautiously avoid problems. So I'm not expecting any. So then what could be the problems that they have? I think they've set it up for themselves where I can't really see problems occurring with 10, 20 vehicles. It's like,
Well, we
what
do.
would the chance? Yeah, go ahead.
We do know that from time to time, at least the versions that I'm driving, and probably the version that you're driving, from time to time, it will choose to not do what it's supposed to. My wife said the other day that down at our corner, we have a really rough left turn. It's not a blind left turn, but the traffic is going like 60 miles an hour there. And the Tesla pulled out and, shouldn't have,
Yeah.
So even though there was no accident, even though, everybody was able to recover, there could be situations where cars are honking or cars are mad at Tesla doing something stupid. I mean, there's, the press is going to just be ready to take anything they can find and fudge.
Right. So if the safety monitor has to do something, has to say, okay, here's a safe command, pull over, and then, something happens there. Would any intervention like that, I could see it getting filed in paperwork, but who would end up reporting that to the press, and how would the press find out? Because they're probably not in the invitation group.
Right.
But at some point over the next month or two, as it expands, then people who are adversarial to Tesla would be in vehicles and trying to mess things up that way. So at some point over in the maybe not in the first week, but relatively soon, that could become something that could happen.
So you think Dan O'Dowd might actually get a ride, and
Yeah.
before he gets in the vehicle, he'll take a cardboard cutout of
Dummy,
a
yes.
child, and put it up in front of the car.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And there's several others, I think, who would want to do that. Yeah.
I think Dan would be at the top of the list, or maybe he'll just be skulking around in Austin with a string and a child.
Many dummies are trying to pull them out.
Trying to pull them out in front of the cars as they're going by. I wouldn't put it past him. I can't imagine what's going on in this guy's mind that he feels so driven. Sorry for the pun. So driven to create problems for Tesla. It's almost psychopathic. It's really. I hope that doesn't get me in trouble. Yeah, Dan O'Donnell, I think you're a psychopath. Okay, sue me.
Mhm, mhm.
All right, so let's see. Now, so far, the ones that we've seen are not all one color. I was kind of thinking that even in the beginning days, they might use a color-coded, some kind of one color and maybe a different color than they offer in the rest of the fleet in order to kind of get people used to seeing the cars around. But so far, it looks like they're putting them out there in whites and blacks and blues. And
Yeah, well, when people call up Ubers or any other car, it's you get okay, it's the white, the gray, in the app it'll tell you what to look for. So that taxi yellow kind of thing has kind of gone away.
yeah, what about so one of the questions that came up the other day, and I was reading through the rules, and I'm sorry, not the rules from the state of Texas, the ones that if the governor signs it, will go into effect on September 1. And it was talking about ways to alert the first responders that it's self-driving, so that they know to, I guess, disable it if it's somehow, in a ditch or something. Um, what what about other cars? Do you think that it's important for cars behind and front, to the side, whatever, of the Tesla to know that it doesn't have a driver? And that that it's autonomously driven.
You have they have stickers on it saying it's a vehicle. So you have student driver stickers.
Right,
So
right.
you have a student driver. So I think that's basically what the same situation that, okay, I need to know that it's a not normal uh, driver system. It could be better in this case, but
Right, right.
if you say you want to let the people know, then it's basically like a student driver sticker. So and they already have those there. So I think that's up to the state or whatever regulators to say, okay, if you want stickers on it, make them and then we'll stick them on there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. I was just thinking about the fact, again, we know as FSD drivers that sometimes people behind you don't expect you to come to a complete stop.
right.
And yet it comes to a complete stop. And quite a bit before it gets to I guess it stops at the line where you're supposed to stop, at
Yeah.
least in California. So
So I think people get used to it, it's just, and it'll be somewhat localized for different places. So, you know, California is known for the California roll where we don't stop. So it's I think if it becomes an issue, they can localize it to each area to behave the way the regulators want and the way the community wants to do things.
So we should get some idea of the how much they're going to charge. Even the folks that have the invitations apparently are going to be charged. They've been
Mhm.
told they have to have their charge card in the system.
Mhm.
So I guess maybe we'll get some theory. They won't obviously be able to start figuring out what the market rate is. Uh,
Mhm.
I think you've said, I can't remember what the last time we've talked about it. I want them to charge full market. I want them to be, if they can get away with $3.50 a mile, great. If they have
Mhm.
to charge $2 a mile to get the rides, fine. But
Yeah.
I want them to charge as much as they can.
Well, certainly with very few vehicles, like once they get an invitation, it's like, okay, now we're starting in the wild. Um, if they charge too low, that's going to cause wait times to be too long.
Yeah,
So it's problematic to go too much below the market price.
right.
Getting some level of, oh yeah, it's cheaper, better, and all that kind of stuff makes sense. But I think you're constrained. Um, just like I don't want to have like going to a Star Wars movie, 1976 or whatever, and you're lined up, around the block,
Right.
whatever. So you don't want that to happen. So you can't go too low relative to, have an imbalance of supply and demand. So you have to keep that in balance. So that forces something like a market price upon you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, because that's definitely that's my goal. I'm hoping they do that. I'm hoping they do that with semi trucks. I'm
Mhm.
I'm assuming they're doing it with energy storage. I'm not sure, but hopefully they're getting as much as they can. All right. Any other thoughts with regard to the rollout? Those are the ones that were. Oh, let's see. Wait a minute. as long as we're here, let's talk about the stock. The stock went nowhere.
Not going nowhere. Yes.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was no sell on the news. There was no FOMO. There was no nothing.
Oh, it was any reaction was understated. Like it went up to 332 and then down 324 and then just went sideways. So I think it's kind of you know, a wait and see. If they say like, because they're basically aligned with, okay, we're gonna have 10, 20 vehicles on Sunday, and now the invitation is gonna only have 10, 20 vehicles on Sunday. So it's basically the surprise either way was not big, because it's kind of like, so it's more a question of how does the next 3 months roll out, and people who don't believe whatever positions have not changed. So thus there's you know, the muted reaction of stock. Although, and I know that on the betting markets that you know, it's many of the markets didn't move that much. Although I guess the poly market moved a fair bit because Elon said it's, you know, EV money will happen. So he encouraged certain things. But other than those particular markets, based on the information news release, it didn't really shift that much.
Yeah, you know, it's really an interesting situation right now. I believe that Brad, wait, the BG2 guys, Brad
Okay, Bill Gurley and Brad
Gerstner.
Gerstner, yeah.
I believe Brad is not in Tesla right now.
Okay.
Gary Black's not in Tesla right now. There's other people that are not in Tesla right now. It seems, now maybe I'm going to be the one that's just completely wrong about this, because, you know, right now I certainly am.
Yeah.
But it seems I just keep feeling as if the upside potential is so huge.
Right.
And there's all of these downside breaks, okay? Meaning, even if this turned out to be a complete joke and they had to pull it off the market, it didn't work at all, you know, you still have Optimus coming, you still have
Low price car coming.
semi-truck coming, you still have the
Low
Model
price
Q
models.
coming. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Model 2, Model Q, whatever. Yeah.
Model Q. You got the two new plants coming online for energy storage. Just got a new order today from China for $567 million worth of megapacks. I mean, it's not like if RoboTaxi failed completely that there wouldn't be still lots and lots and lots of future for Tesla. So therefore, it seemed like the downside risk is almost zero, and the upside potential is extraordinary.
I think the downside risk stuff is people concerned about, you know, macro, the war, tariffs. You know, that is so big, and then maybe they're worried about 2.0 of a Trump Elon fight or something like that, right? So there's a bunch of things which are making investors nervous. I think, you know, Brad Gerstner being out, he was making a thesis about how the market overall had kind of moved too far, and so then he, you know, needed to be on the sidelines and wanted to wait for it. So
but he's literally in Uber.
Right, I know. Well, he went back to Uber then. He went out of Uber and then went to Tesla, and then
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure about
people can let us know in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that is correct. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Now the Uber story would be that they've got some deal with Waymo, that they're testing in London right now with some kind of I forget whose system it is in London that they're testing. What do you hear from Waves? No, what's his name? The guy with the one that you can hook it up to any car.
𝐒𝐮𝐧𝐝𝐚𝐲.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we hear from
George Hotz?
Yeah, George.
That's it's still inferior to FSD. He even says it's inferior, like a couple years behind. He says he can get the data, says he can come out, but it's behind. It makes when some other company or OEM, if Waymo or if Ford or someone wanted to jumpstart their own system, they would then make sense for them to buy it and to then deploy it in a bigger way, because they have some of the largest amount of data relative to any other company. Still, 1/100th of what the data is for Tesla, but he's followed the same approach. It's ahead of where others are. So it's something that could happen, but they're, in terms of a straight up competitor, again, 2 years, 3 years behind.
Okay. All right. Now you're a futurist. Okay. So what is your crystal ball telling you happens with Tesla's? You were famously at 1,500 by the end of the year. You still at 1,500 by the end of the year?
It depends upon the stuff happening, right? They need to get RoboTaxi scaled a lot, 50,000 cars, something like that, by the end of the year. Clearly on the path, the million car Airbnb thing, they say it's going to happen by in December or November. They say it's going to happen by, March. You give a date around it, right? Then that would give this the certainty of what's going to happen there. They have to come out with the lower price car. So all the things that we're anticipating happening have to happen for this. And we would say, okay, it's going to happen, about now-ish, but still a month or two away. So when those things happen, then it can drive the stock to huge levels. So it can still happen, but if it doesn't happen, then depending on which things don't happen, where we're at. Literally, if none of it happens beyond, okay, this, and we have a slow rollout, then the stock could easily, just stay where it is.
Or even go down,
Or even go down, yeah. But if some of those things happen, like the major ones being a lot of RoboTaxi expansion, low price car model, and the low price car model does well, because I'm expecting it to do well at, say $30,000, $28,000 after the incentives, then that needs to drive us to 2.2, 2.4 million, 2.5 million vehicles, right? And also get demand for RoboTaxi, right? So if we get none of that demand happening and vehicles don't move and energy doesn't move, megapacks and all that kind of stuff, then the bull case does not happen at all, right? So I would say if RoboTaxi in the car happened, then say RoboTaxi being at 20,000, 50,000 vehicles, megapacks being at 20 gigawatt hours per quarter, the car sales going up to 600,000, 700,000 per quarter, right? Because of RoboTaxi demand, because of low price car model, then that should get us to an $800 to $1,000. And if we get to 2.5 million vehicles, something like a million cars per quarter, something like that, then we get to 1,500. But if those things, the demand surge and the RoboTaxi doesn't really crush it, then there's no reason for the stock to go up that much. All
right. Well, listen, everybody should come back tomorrow night. I think I'll be doing this tomorrow night. Will be another conversation with Brian where he is going to give us his view of where we are in terms of the singularity. If you watched last night, you'll know that Bradford Ferguson and I talked about the singularity. And so this will be, Bradford was looking at it from a very practical standpoint of a business owner today. And I'm going to want to talk over that part of it with Brian. But he's going to be talking about it, I'm sure, on a much more scientific and futuristic level. So that'll be probably tomorrow night at 7:45. All right. Brian, as always, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.